So we just read the story The Sun's Shadow by Franz Xavier von Schonwerth in the collection The Turnip Princess. And we'll go ahead and give a little summary and talk about it.
Yeah, so Eris wants that and then I think the sun and the moon and death came to be. Um and then when the sun
And he
and the
ruled
moon,
the world.
yeah, and he ruled the world. Um and then when the sun and the moon grew up, they cast death into a they a corner like
Underground
underground
and into a corner.
and and in response, death like killed everything the sun and the moon had created. Um, so after that, it was just like a quarrel between the three of them. So the Titans decided to,
Well, then nearly everything perished in a flood. And
yeah.
then the decided Titans held a meeting.
Mhm. So Titans decided to descend onto the earth, and they went to like the mountain with a stone table, and they debated on how the issue should be resolved. Um, So then when that happened, a weasel came out from the underground and licked their eyes. And um, in response to that, the Titans I think they quarreled as well. Um,
Yeah, they
and
decided to take the side of
yeah,
death, but he refused
yes.
to kind of give them the final word on the matter.
Yeah, he refused to. So in response, they became enraged and he tore off Death's clothes. And when that happened, the the son took pity on Death and gave him a cloak. Um, so then for and the cloak was so that Death could hide from the Titans. Um, so from that day on, whenever the sun casts its light, there's some shadows because Death is hiding with the cloak.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've already talked some about this story, so you know some of my jumbled thoughts, but what stands out to you about it?
Mhm. Well, I did forget one detail, but like Death did mention that since they were a man, they ruled over the sun, so they felt like more powerful or something. Um,
Yeah,
for
it's yeah,
at some point in the story.
that's the reason he refused to give the Titans the final word on the matter because he was a man and he could rule over the sun anyway, who was a woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that part maybe just kind of shows maybe I guess that's initially kind of thought himself as like higher than the woman, but like with the woman kind of helping him out with the cloak, it kind of shows that there's like a balance there.
Yeah.
That's kind of needed and natural in the world, and that uh, both the feminine and masculine are actually like complementary to each other. So,
Yeah, yeah, it seems like something like that.
yeah,
And or life and death are complementary or life and violent death, you know.
yeah,
But it's interesting, death was the first ruler, it seems like. But
yeah,
then the sun and the moon together were able to throw death underground and into a
hmm
corner. And then he
hmm
killed off everything that
hmm
was created by them. And then it became total chaos. And then there was a flood
hmm
that nearly killed all of them.
hmm
All. Hmm. Yeah, so it seems like in this telling, the world is just so violent and chaotic at first, which is interesting. I mean, there was maybe before, at some point in history, before the axial age, before about 1300 BC, there was, I might be getting the dates wrong, but there was like some kind of huge collapse of I think I'm thinking of the Bronze Age collapse. It's a little bit before what I said, but um, there was like a huge collapse of empires and even the population of the human population of the world collapsed. So there is in people's memory, and maybe there were floods at that time, but there is maybe in deep in people's memory, preserved in the mythology, a kind of time of chaos and flooding. But yeah, and then somebody has to come and like govern, right? Make some decisions.
Yeah,
But they're unable to make any decisions until a white weasel crawled out from a crevice and began licking their eyes.
yeah.
No
It's like,
idea what to make of that.
yeah, I was very confused about that weasel, but then since you mentioned it did come underground, I feel like it was probably sent by death. And maybe the weasel is kind of maybe connected to it in some way.
Well, it crawled out
Yeah,
from a crevice. I don't
yeah,
know. It did crawl out from below, I think, but I don't know if that
yeah,
was from the ground or from a crevice in the stone benches.
yeah. I don't know, but I kind of thought of it as being sent by death, and it was like on purpose
He was
in a
kind of
way.
manipulating the situation.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of feeling, but
Hmm.
um, I'm not really sure. Like, and I wonder if the weasel has like deeper symbology as well. Uh,
Yeah. What do you think the weasel could mean at all? I mean, he's sort of like a snake. He can crawl in and out of small places.
yeah, it's so hard because we know so much symbology for other animals, but I can't think of one so much for a
Uh,
weasel.
and what about he began licking their eyes? I mean, so then they can see more clearly, something like that. They decided to take the side of death. But either way, like if he sent, I mean, if he sent the weasel, I mean, it seems like the what the decision they came to was not to the like death was not like that pleased with them.
Mhm.
And yeah, he tried to give them the argument, whatever this means, that since he was able to rule over the sun since she was a woman, but maybe that has something to do, yeah, with human relationships between men and
Mhm.
women. Well, the man will assert his dominance, but then ultimately they come to a sort of compromise and sort of like he needs her after that, and then she gives him something out of love
Mhm.
and care, and then they are together after that.
Mhm.
Could there be a larger issue of governance there or something? But either way, as I was telling you before, it seems like there's violence, chaos, and imbalance between all of them, and that kills almost all life. But then they come to through like the mediation and the anger and the threat maybe from an outside force, the Titans, then they kind of come together. And yes, as I just said, she has like that caring compassion for him. And then now they are completely together in that
Mhm.
every time there's light, there's shadow too, you know?
Mhm.
There's like this complete togetherness that they have.
Yeah.
And yeah, before, whereas the moon and the sun before had like persecuted death, they'd driven him underground, driven him into a corner. Now the sun takes pity on him, maybe partially because she sees that there was a larger force than death that was pummeling him.
Mhm.
And only after it's not only he's pummeled, but with such passion that the Titans tore all of Death's clothes from his stout body. So he was vulnerable, he was in need. and then she took pity on him.
Mhm.
Whereas before he was always a destructive force.
Yeah. Yeah, and it kind of seems too like she recognizes that he's still like important and kind of necessary as well, in the world in a way. Uh,
Yeah. Why
and like
wouldn't
she
she
wants
have
to
before? Because he was out of control.
probably and like maybe with that statement he said about how he's more powerful, uh,
Yes, maybe
or
he was, yeah, arrogant.
yeah,
He was like arrogant teenager or an arrogant 11-year-old or something, and then
yeah,
he becomes like humbled by like a force more powerful than him, which represents civilization too, right? Maybe because the Titans work as a group. They have benches they sit down on and they convene in meetings and stuff. They try to
Mhm.
make communal decisions. Those are all maybe things of like society, if not civilization. I think with the stone benches, especially, that indicates civilization because it's like staying in one place rather than moving around like hunter gatherer tribes or something. But
Mhm.
anyway, they represent a sort of society and death. They are, a society is more powerful than like roving barbarians, typically, something like
Mhm.
that. And so then the barbarians have to grow up and they have to realize they depend on others. And what's the thing that most depends on life? Death. Death, you have to have something that came alive before it died. So yeah, it'd be stupid for death to kill all life because then there would be no more life to create life and therefore be able to die.
Mhm.
What else did you think about this story?
Mhm.
What about death wearing a cape? But I mean, is that just something about showing the ownership of the sun on death? Could be also like some folk were wondering like why uh some people were wondering why the Grim Reaper is depicted wearing a cape or something like that, and they retrospectively
Um,
came up with a story.
what? No, because I'm not really sure, but I just thought maybe that thinking that since while death is everywhere and necessary, it can't necessarily be seen all the time. Like it maybe kind of needs to stay hidden in a way, and kind of be waiting in the
Yeah,
background. Uh,
yeah, like a shadow, ev- it's it's always instantly possible everywhere.
yeah, and and yeah, maybe people literally can't handle seeing it all the time. Like like
It needs
it's
to
like
stay
a
hidden.
yeah until the time comes. Yeah.
Mm. And yeah, maybe that's an explanation for the chaos and the that happened before
Mhm.
that yeah, life is not we we find it intolerable to live life where death would be so obvious, even though
Mhm.
he needs to be ever present. He needs to remain hidden.
Mhm.
And that maybe has something to do with like, yeah, societal life. Like we as a
Mhm.
society decided to keep death hidden or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe clothes have something to do with that social aspect too. Like
Mhm.
clothes are more our social thing, right? You don't, I mean, besides the necessity of clothes in certain weather, part of the reason maybe we have clothes, or anyway, the the function of clothes is also social. It's not just physical. Like it designates rank, sex, age, status. I guess I said rank already. It it hides our nakedness, so it maybe makes people less lascivious,
Hmm.
less purely sexual beings or something. But yeah, there's something. Why do they tear the clothes off Death? Because anyway, that makes him vulnerable.
Yeah, like I think it would make him vulnerable and maybe I'm probably overthinking too much, but maybe more kind of hated in a way, or I don't know,
Contemptuous.
contemptuous. Yeah,
He becomes a more excuse me, not contemptuous, contemptible figure,
yeah.
less venerated, less respected.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, an interesting story in this Turnip Princess book. Yeah, but maybe it seems to have something to do with the coming about from so there's really strong forces in our world, life and death and society maybe and a lot of those things can butt up against each other if they don't know how to work together and create chaos and maybe extermination of all life. And then yeah, there has to have been or there has to be in the future because myths are supposed, are a description of perennial patterns, but there has to be some sort of knowledge and relationship that they have with each other so that there is harmony and that there is life, tolerable life, and there isn't chaos and violence and death all the time. So this story is one possible way to describe that process from violence to order, to
Mhm.
some kind of natural order. But yeah, do you have any other thoughts on this one?
Not so far, but yeah, just I thought for a short story, I think there's like a lot of kind of density to it that
Yeah.
yeah, I feel there's still stuff there
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
discuss.
And by the way, let me know if you think of any of that stuff. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think many of these stories, maybe all of them are like that too. There's
Hmm.
very dense. This one is this author was less literary than Schonwerth is less literary than the Grimm brothers. He's more directly from the horse's mouth of the people he took these stories from. But yeah, maybe we'll do another one of these later or go back to Grimm. But yeah,
Sounds good. But yeah, I'm liking both, so yeah, they're both good.
that's good. But yeah, enjoyed this and maybe we'll do another one next week.
Sounds good.